Welcome to the Business Excellence for Managers podcast, which is dedicated for all of you leaders and executives who would like to continuously improve your business performance. This podcast is sponsored by Wave Business Excellence Footprint, the digital training company that cares about your development, your employees' development, and your business performance. You can find the courses under www.wave-bef.com. Today's episode is all about how you can become a better manager when you optimize the way you breathe. I am thrilled to introduce you to my amazing guest, Fleur Conway, who is from England and lives in Spain. Over the years, she has gained much knowledge and experience in many areas of health and well-being. She is a Buteyko method breathing instructor, also a Oxygen Advantage advanced instructor, a low-pressure fitness trainer, an emotional life coach, and a Bach flower therapist. Overall, Fleur's aim is to help us find our balance in all aspects of our life by focusing on breath, body, mind, and soul using easy and accessible tools. I am thrilled to introduce you to this amazing guest, Fleur. Hello, Fleur, and welcome to the Business Excellence for Managers podcast. It's so great to have you here.
Thank you very much. I'm so grateful to be here once again.
It's good to have recurring guests, and you're definitely one of them.
Thank you. I love being here because there's so much that we can talk about.
So true.
Yeah, we have a lot in common. Yeah.
That's right. The first question I have is, what does it mean to properly breathe? Because many people will think, what a weird question, because we're all breathing every day, yeah? But there's a wrong way and a right way to do it. What is the right way to do it?
Well, really what happens is we all have to breathe for our metabolic rates, for our metabolic needs. So what is the proper way to breathe? Well, the proper way to breathe is to breathe through our nose. And this is something that a lot of people get confused about because they don't quite understand that our mouth is for eating, for laughing, for speaking, for kissing, for drinking, and our nose is for breathing. We also smell through our nose. But there's a lot of people that create bad habits and they start breathing through their mouth. There are also people that might be listening as well, and they might be saying, well, when I'm out jogging, I breathe through my mouth. So yes, we can use our mouth at certain points in time. For instance, when our needs are much stronger and we need a bigger intake of air. Or, for instance, if we're going to do an exercise where we want more of an implication of our abdominal muscles, so then we can use our mouth. But for our habitual breathing and for a functional breathing pattern, we want to be breathing through our nose. And we also want the flow of our breath to be adequate for our metabolic needs. And this is something that we tend to do, is that we breathe too hard, too fast. So we take in too much air, or the flow is too strong. So really, to answer your question, we want to be breathing through our nose, and we want our breath to be light, to be slow, and to be deep. And to be deep, that means air comes in through our nose and goes down to the lower lobes of our lungs, where we have a good implication, a good movement of our diaphragm.
Okay, so then one should not feel ashamed when one is doing the breathing and the belly just raises. Yeah? So that's actually wanted in the proper breathing, right?
Yeah, I mean, we don't want our belly to be moving out really strongly. We also want our ribs to be opening and closing.
Okay,
it's not going to be where we're going to do really wide movement of our ribs. It's more of like a 3D movement. So there's a slightly opening to the front, opening to the back, and opening to the sides. But because the diaphragm is like a jellyfish, so it has that sort of like jellyfish movement as well. So when we breathe in, the diaphragm comes down, it flattens out a little bit and it comes down. So then it will be pushing more pressure into the abdominal cavity, and that's why we also have that slight movement of our abdomen moving out.
Okay.
And then the abdominal muscles help the abdomen to push in, to bring up the diaphragm once again, to push the air out of the lungs. So yes, there should be some movement.
Okay, perfect. And for those listeners who are not yet so good on knowing all the different parts of the body, could you explain a bit where's the diaphragm? Because some people, I think, maybe are not exactly aware of where the diaphragm is and what is the function of the diaphragm.
Well, the diaphragm is the muscle that lies in between the abdominal cavity and the thorax cavity. So it just lies in our rib cage, at the lower end of our rib cage. So if one wants to feel the rib cage, you can feel the lower ribs, and just in there, the diaphragm lies. And the diaphragm is also attached to the spine. So the diaphragm actually has quite a few functions. One, it is our main breathing muscle, but it also has an implication in our posture. Wow. So it is also a postural muscle. And also, from the movement, it has a pump action on our digestive system. So it helps with our digestion, because when we're breathing in and breathing out, the diaphragm is moving like a jellyfish. Mm-hmm. So it's also having that pump action. It's helping with the lymphatic drainage and also with the blood circulation and with the digestive motility of the intestines.
That's amazing. So actually now I'm putting some dots together why when we breathe properly and use the diaphragm how it's supposed to be used, then it has so many other benefits for our health and for our body.
Yes, and for our posture. Because when somebody's not breathing properly, the diaphragm can get stuck or it can be stiff because it's a muscle. So if it's stiff, it's going to be giving us pain as well in the lower back area. And also our posture might be compromised. So this is why it is important to have a good posture and also to have a good breathing pattern.
Yeah.
You know, what happens when we're very emotional or we're very anxious? Our breathing changes.
Yeah. But
sometimes we feel like, you know, within our tummy, we feel some tightness. And it's not only in our tummy, but it can be our diaphragm. Our diaphragm clenches.
Oh.
So if we're not aware of our emotions and the way we're breathing, then that tension can stay in the diaphragm.
So that could also explain why some people, when they're nervous, they cannot catch a deeper breath. They just feel like they want to get some air, but they just do not feel that they can really go deeper into their lungs, and they just have a very short and shallow breathing.
Yeah, it can be because of the diaphragm is already contracted, so it's tense, so it can't move properly. What happens when we've got a muscle that's contracted? It doesn't move properly, so it can't relax. So this is what happens. When it can't relax, it can't come back up to its resting position. When it doesn't come up to its resting position, there's still like air in the lungs, so they can't get more air in because there's stagnant air in the lungs. You know, when people get nervous, there's also that implication of the autonomic nervous system. So sometimes, you know, we can go into that either a hyperventilation pattern or a pattern of where we hold our breath. We freeze.
Yeah.
So we hold our breath. So it depends on what the person's doing.
And as many of us probably lost, I would say, sensitivity on really using our diaphragm properly, are there actually some exercises that one can do to start exercising the diaphragm so that you can have full range of motion and that you can subconsciously really then use it and not just use it for those few minutes when you're thinking about it, but to really make it like a constant throughout the day so it's your new default state, the way how you use your diaphragm?
Well, to relax the diaphragm, I show a lot of people how to do self-massage. Mm-hmm. So basically, you feel where your ribs are because your diaphragm is lying just underneath the rib cage. So basically what you do is you're feeling around the rib cage on either side. I would just feel underneath the rib cage and feel for any tension. And I would go on either side. So on the right side, we have the liver. And sometimes when there's stagnant liver or whatever, there can be a little bit of pain or it's uncomfortable. So one has to go slowly. And then on our left side, we have the stomach. Mm-hmm. And so if we've just eaten, we have to be careful because otherwise we'll be pushing on the food. So to do this exercise either when we first got up in the morning or before we have breakfast or later on in the day. So just to run the hands down the rib cage and then slowly move our hands further in underneath the rib cage. And here we'll be touching the fascia of the diaphragm. So we will be releasing tension. If we find a spot that's very sensitive or that's very painful, then we can either release a little bit of tension or we can just hold the tension there with our fingers until that area releases. And if we do this every day, we can do it in the morning when we wake up, before we get out of bed. If we've had a good night's sleep, we should feel nice and relaxed. And so we're just lying there. We just place our hands just by our ribs and then just slowly go underneath our ribs. We don't have to do it hard, just slowly and little by little. And there's also another exercise that we can do. And all we have to do is we naturally inhale and exhale through our nose. And then without taking any air, we pinch our nose closed and then we take a false inhale in. So it's like we want to breathe in. And when we do that, our diaphragm will move. And so here, what we're doing is we're moving the diaphragm.
Yeah.
So that also helps release tension.
Wow, that's interesting. It just reminded me of some device I've seen some people use in the hospitals when after an operation, that they have to somehow inhale into a tube, and then there are like 4 little balls that go up, and then you just have to like practice to have the strength to be able to inhale so that those 3 little or 4 little balls go up to that device. Is that also maybe doing something for the diaphragm, or is that something totally different?
Yeah, but that is more aimed at the actual lungs.
Okay.
To get the lungs moving, because the lungs really are they're a little bit like sponges actually.
Yeah.
When the lungs aren't used, when they're out of a body, they will literally shrink and shrivel. But if you blew air into them, they would go and they would expand. So basically, with those apparatus, with those little contraptions that you're saying with the balls, it's also to help that person regain the elasticity of the lungs. Okay. And to get the lungs moving and more of a spongy. But I mean, it also, obviously, it does have an effect on the diaphragm, because the diaphragm is the main breathing muscle.
Exactly. So what would be your theory? Why do we as humans lose touch with the way how we use our diaphragm, the way how we breathe? I think most people breathe wrong because they're very shallow. From what I understood, people breathe mainly in their chest area. And why do you think that actually happens? What is the root cause?
Well, it can be many things, but I mean, I think mainly, basically, what is happening in our lives and, the way that we live, we are more and more disconnected with life itself, with nature, with taking it slow. I mean, and taking it slow doesn't mean that we have to be on holiday all the time. It's just being more in the now, being aware of our environment, on what we're doing. We seem to be totally in this hyped up, on the go, on the go, on the go, on the go. We have more stresses. Whoever you talk to, oh, I'm stressed, oh, I'm stressed, oh, I'm stressed. Everything, and especially now with the technology, with the WhatsApp, with emails, with the social media, it's pings, 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 and answer now, 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 now. Everything is immediate, immediate, immediate. But also, when we're babies, we're actually born, unless we have an anatomical problem or we're born with some type of problem, we breathe in a good way. We breathe with a proper breathing pattern. We breathe through our nose. Maybe with a cold, maybe with some kind of illness, or for whatever reason, we have had a stuffy nose and then we just got into the habit of breathing through our mouth. And that bad breathing habit has become a habit and then has become the breathing pattern.
Wow.
So if we're not careful, you see, this is one of the things that they do in native, I'm not quite sure exactly where, but there is a native tribe that what they actually do is that if they see that their babies are opening the mouth, then they gently close the mouth and keep the lips sealed, because they don't want that to become a habit and then become their breathing pattern. The other thing is as well, the foods that we eat. To have a good development of the jaw, the facial structure, which also helps develop the nasal cavities when we're young, it depends as well on what we eat. So, native people, they eat raw foods. They also eat meat. Whether we agree with eating meat or not, they will eat more natural foods.
Yeah.
They're not processed foods and they're not soft smoothies.
Exactly. So it's really in the original form.
In the hard form. So they have to really use their bite. They really have to use all their muscles. So by using all their muscles, their facial structure, it develops properly, which also develops the nasal cavity, which helps develop the airway. So there are a lot of things.
Amazing. One of the interesting things for managers that they come into so many different situations when their stress levels go up. For example, if they are going into itty-gritty meetings, or if they have to look into the numbers, or they have to report to upper level management, or maybe there's even a time of the year that it's always the end of the quarter that they have to present the results. Maybe they even have to speak with the external clients who are not happy with certain services. Maybe they even have to speak with their employees who are not happy with their salaries, or maybe not happy with work, or anything else that could just raise their stress level. Is there anything you could recommend the manager to do so that they can stay calm throughout such situations?
Again, the base of their breathing is going to influence on how their stress levels are going to come up or not. So the first thing that they need is to have a functional breathing pattern. And a functional breathing pattern means to have that balanced breathing pattern where their body is getting what it needs, but also their brain and their autonomic nervous system, so their sympathetic, their fight, flight, and their parasympathetic, their relaxed state, is in balance. So when they have these situations that they have to confront, that even though it's a stressful situation, because they're coming from a balanced baseline, they will be able to access that baseline once again. So presuming that that person, that manager, has got a good breathing pattern, so they're sleeping well, and they have that emotional intelligence, they are in that balanced emotion state as well. So what would I do? Okay, I have to confront a situation. So one of the things that I would do is come into the now. I would go into a quiet place, whether in another room, somewhere where I can just home in to my body, to my breath, or go and sit outside, listen to the trees, watch the birds or whatever, just home in. And I would bring my breath down for a light breathing. So when we are reducing our breathing, we are making it lighter, we are making it softer. We are accessing that parasympathetic state. We are accessing the vagus nerve. And so the vagus nerve will be saying, okay, everything is fine. Don't worry, everything is fine. We also want to stop our thinking. We want to stop our thoughts. And by bringing our attention to our breath, and when we're slowing down our breath, we need to bring our attention onto our breath. So when we're doing that, we can't have all these other thoughts. So that would be a good way. But then when we have to confront this situation, we don't want to be too relaxed, because otherwise we could get overridden. So, we have to be in a balanced state. We have to be relaxed. We don't want to overreact. But then we don't want that situation to take over. We want to be also in control. So we come into a relaxed state, but then we want to be active. So then what we can do is some small breath holds to activate a little bit our nervous system to say, okay, come on, we're on. We're relaxed, but we're on. So we can do small breath holds, and the breath holds would be to inhale, exhale in a natural way. We don't have to make a big inhale and a long exhale, just natural. In and out through the nose, and then we pinch our nose closed and we count to 5, let go, inhale and exhale through our nose in a natural way, 2 to 3 breaths. And then once again we would do an inhale, exhale, hold 5 seconds, then let go, and then inhale, exhale again, 10 to 15 seconds, which are normally 2 breaths. And we would repeat this for a few times, and then we could even make the retention a little bit longer. So those small breath holds, or that slightly longer breath hold, is going to say, right, okay, I'm ready now. Yeah. I'm focused, I'm calm, and I'm ready.
So it's like the natural way to boost caffeine in your blood, yeah, without drinking the coffee.
Yes, exactly. But it's important to be from that balanced state.
Yeah.
Well, the short breath holds, like 5 seconds, they're what we use the emergency exercise. So that can basically be used by anybody because 5 seconds is like a long extended exhale. But if we do it a little bit longer, we have to be careful if we are pregnant, if we have hypertension, if we have a heart problem, or if we have diabetes or epilepsy, anything like that, we don't recommend the long breath holds.
Okay.
But the long breath holds, if we're a healthy person, if we don't have an underlying problem, they can be used to bring us in the now. But when we are coming from that relaxed, balanced state, because if we're already hyped up and we do another stressor, we're only going to hype ourselves even more and push that stress overboard.
And let's say once that stressful situation and that meeting is over and they go back to their office and they need to like cool down because they already can feel the adrenaline just pumping in their blood. And is there a technique where you can say, okay, now it's a time where I'm just going to allow my body to calm down? And sometimes it takes people a long time to calm down, you know, even though they already drove home, they're already having dinner and they're still somehow all like stressed out about work. Is there a way you could adapt your breathing so that you just help your body to calm down a bit sooner?
Okay, so when we're really hyped up, our brain is in overdrive.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're really, really, really stressed. If you say to somebody that's in that moment, bring your attention to your breath, they're going to find it really difficult because they're overactive. So in this situation, we would use that emergency exercise, the small breath holds.
Yeah.
So we would go inhale normally, exhale normally, hold, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let go, breathe in and breathe out naturally 2, 3 times, 4 times, and then once again, inhale naturally, exhale naturally, hold, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, breathe naturally once again, and then we would repeat and repeat and repeat. On that hold, on that exhale hold, basically what we're doing is an extended exhale. But instead of having to bring their attention to their breathing, they're doing it by actually mechanically doing it and counting 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So their brain is off, the attention is off what was troubling them.
Yeah.
They don't have to bring their attention to their breathing and they can just do this. So it becomes mechanical, but by doing it mechanically, it doesn't take away the importance of what they're doing. So a lot of people think that, you know, for the breathing exercise to be important or to be effective, that they have to bring their attention onto their breathing. This is also very, very effective. So that inhale, exhale, hold is like an extended exhale. And the exhale is what brings the vagus nerve into action and brings that calm, relaxed state again.
And for those who do not know the vagus nerve, could you give us a quick explanation on that?
Well, the vagus nerve is a nerve that goes around the body and gives feedback of what's happening in the body. So there is a relation between the body and the brain, and there's a continuous feedback between brain and body, and it's through the vagus nerve that this interaction is communicating.
Okay, I think from what I remember from school, I think it even starts like all the way down in our toes.
Well, it's called vagus because it wanders, it's the wandering nerve. So it's wandering around the body. For instance, what happens when you're nervous? Our digestive system. Because the feedback from the brain to the body, basically it's instant. So that's why when we get nervous, our digestive system goes all funny.
Yeah.
But also what is happening in the body is also feeding back to the brain. So this is why it's extremely important how we breathe in our daily, everyday and every night pattern is giving feedback to the brain on how we are. So if we have rapid, short, fast breath, we're telling the brain that there is a threat.
Yeah.
Even though we know that there's nothing there, because the brain doesn't understand the difference of what happened yesterday at what's happening now or what could be happening in the future.
True.
This is why it's really important as well to be able to come into the now and to stop always the thinking of what ifs. What if I had done? What if I don't do? What if I don't say? What if I had said?
Because in that sense, your thoughts of in the past, yeah, and sometimes there are a lot of managers I notice they're always thinking of, oh, what I got to do next, yeah, what's the emails I got to send, what are those 5 messages, those 3 phone calls I still got up. So you're never really in the present moment because you're either thinking of what you should have said, yeah, in the past or what could have been done, and then you're thinking of the future of all the things I've been doing, but what is happening at this moment right now? What can I do right now in this present moment? And that's something I think that really needs to be exercised.
Yeah, I always think that as well that, we've got a stressful situation coming up. Okay, we can think, in this stressful situation, I want to say this, I want to do this, and whatever. And we start thinking, okay, but what if? But the thing is, until we are actually in that situation, we don't know how it's going to go because it doesn't all depend on us. So we can only control ourselves and we can control our state of mind and we can control our body and we can control our mind. Yeah. And then however the other person reacts or whatever happens in that situation, that's out of our control. Well, this is what I do, is okay, I have prepared for this situation, but until I'm not in that situation, I won't really know how to deal with it. Because I'm not in that situation right now. Yeah. But what I can do is I can be in a balanced state. And I can be in a balanced state within my body, within my breath, and within my mind. And then when I'm in that situation, I will be able to manage it. Because I'll be able to access the tools that I need.
Exactly. And that's my second last question for you for today's episode is how can proper breathing make a manager a better manager?
I think one of the main things is to have that balance, what we've just said right now, to be able to communicate in a much coherent way, in a balanced way, to be able to manage stressful situations, because being a manager is stressful. It also depends on the person, the personality, but normally managers, they do have a lot of stress on their backs. Yeah. So their breathing is also going to help them manage that stress. It's going to help them manage situations. It's also going to help them when they go home to be able to leave that stress behind and to be at home and to be in their present moment with their family, with themselves, to be able to have that balance as well between work, home, their personal life, but also to communicate better, to be able to be more creative as well on how to manage their projects that they need to manage, how to push forward projects.
Yeah. Almost everything, yeah. Especially that
everything, yes.
As it has that influence on their own health. And if a manager doesn't have health or they do not thrive, then they cannot really be that productive in their ideas, in the way they communicate with their teams, because it's just not possible, yeah, if you're not in good health.
I mean, really, to be a good manager, you'll know this more than me, is to be a good leader. But a good leader doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be on top and the employees are down here. Okay, the roles are different, yeah, and they have different responsibilities, but to be a good leader is also to be somebody to look up to. And you can only be that if you are in a balanced state yourself.
Yeah, correct.
And in a balanced state means balanced in your mind, in your breath, in your sleeping patterns. Again, sleep is very, very important.
Excellent. And therefore we come to the final question, which is, what are the services that you offer to managers?
Really, for managers, it's one-to-one consultations on how to have optimal breathing patterns, but I also work in groups. So if a manager wanted to also work with his team together, that's also a possibility.
Fantastic. So I will be putting how to contact you and all of your social media links. I'll be putting it into the show notes. So thank you so much, Fleur, for all of this great information that you gave us today. And it again put a light on how important it is to breathe the right way, to have a better life and to become a better manager. Thank you so much, Fleur.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. Take care.
This was a lovely and an eye-opening conversation. I hope this episode with Fleur has made you curious about the way we breathe and how it influences our overall performance as a manager. In the show notes, you will find all the links on where to find Fleur and how to contact her. Before you listen to anything else, I encourage you to pause for a moment, reflect on what was discussed, and choose at least one action point out of this episode and try it out. Feel free to let me know how it went. Your feedback is important to my team and me so we can continuously improve the value we deliver, as we want to give you the most from each episode. Please rate, subscribe, send in your comments and share with those who you think could profit from this episode. It's very much appreciated and I'm grateful for your messages. I am also a work in progress and strive to do things better every day. This podcast was sponsored by Wave Business Excellence Footprint, where we believe that investing in yourself and in your employees is the best investment. Therefore, if you are interested in finding out more about courses and certification programs that were designed for you as a manager to further boost your business excellence initiative, then please go to the Courses for Managers tab in the company website www.wave-bef.com, where we have 7 interesting courses for you as a leader. On the other hand, if you want to further develop your team members and your high performers so that they can all bring even more value by learning new skills and methods for solving process issues, then please select Courses for Employees tab on our website. In case you already have team members who are certified in any Lean Six Sigma level, then we also have extra courses for them as well. Thank you, stay tuned, and see you in the next episode of Business Excellence for Managers.